Welcome back to another episode of A Shot of Weeb, the show where we do some drinking and we watch a complete anime. And I'm your host, the Seaweed Ambassador, along with the other host, TheEpicWob.
TheEpicWob, that's me.
Gamer. So this week was my choice to choose the show. Unfortunately, dog, I've chosen bangers both times.
You have chosen pain.
And that's what we like to call a banger, dude. So this week's choice was Gakko Garashi, or School Live. And
is it School Live? I've been calling it School Live.
Maybe it is School Live. I'm not really sure. I kind of thought it was Live because it's like the
School Live would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I thought. I've called it School Live literally until yesterday.
We've been conditioned by idol anime.
Love Live is the best. I love Love Live so much.
I've not seen it, and I'm scared to at this point.
Maki is best girl from the original, and Ruby is best girl from Sunshine. Anyways, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about some different girls today. We're talking about some cute girls doing suffering.
I think we're the one. I think everybody involved, both in the show and outside of the show, suffered. I certainly suffered.
It's the best kind of suffering.
This show was very difficult for me to watch. Let's put it that way. I usually end up taking a break like partway through the show. I watch it over 2 days because I can't just like sit down and marathon. This show, I had to take that break even earlier than usual because I was not having a good time.
Yeah, you took it, what, like 4 episodes in?
No, I took 6 and 6. I usually try to get 8 done on the first day.
Oh, okay, gotcha, okay. Yeah, well, I only watched 3 episodes the first day, but I also normally watch all of it in one day. So like that's kind of like I've been trying to spread it out a little bit more. So I think mine is I'm a little different thing than you know.
Yeah, that's fair. I looked into the show a little bit. It aired, it looks like it finished airing almost exactly 5 years ago. It's a lot older show than I realized.
And I watched it as it was airing. That's the last time I watched this show. I watched it week by week.
I had not seen this show, but there's a twist very early on that we'll talk about once we start talking about the show proper instead of setup stuff.
Yeah.
I did already know the first twist because one of my friends... Well, no, we had been watching some YouTube videos where they dissect the JoJo's intros.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, oh, there's other shows that have like really cool intros. Let me show you this one. And he pulled up a video that put every single Gakko Garashi intro side by side.
Yeah, because almost all of them are different.
Almost all of them are different, and we should do a segment where we talk just about that, because I do have some... Oh, sorry.
Hey.
I do have some very specific statements that I would like to make about the intros, or I could come up to them as we get to like the appropriate point.
No, we'll just do a whole
since we're not going episode by episode anymore.
Yeah,
we should do a segment just about the intros.
I'm totally fine with that.
Cool.
Yeah, so when I first watched this show, I didn't have it spoiled because I was watching it week by week, so I didn't know what was going to happen. And I want to say it now, okay? If you haven't watched this show and you don't know what it's about, go watch it now. Like, stop. It's only 12 episodes. Like, it's so short.
Yeah, so like we usually give a spoiler warning for the shows, so like you could step out at the very end. However, this show has a major spoiler in the first episode.
And there's a lot of twists throughout the entire show also. No, there are. And like, if you know what they are, it's going to give you a different perspective.
The only really, really, really big one, though, is episode 1. This is a show, this is not a spoiler-friendly show.
No, go into the show blind.
Or just don't watch it.
No, please watch it. Wait a second. Okay, before we go any further, did you not like this show?
I am going to very intentionally leave my rating for the end. I do not want to tell you my final thoughts on the show until the end of the episode. Okay,
I just want to say, I'm not going to tell you like my score or any of that stuff. In one sentence, I love this show.
I gathered.
Yeah.
Even though it apparently has a really harsh effect on you. Would you like to tell the audience what your Discord status has been for the last 2 days.
It's been pretty cool. So the past 2 days, I've been updating my status with the Gakugarashi cry counter. So every time I cried during the show, I would add a +1 to it, up that number. And
what did you end at?
Currently, we are at 11. I cried.
Are you going to count cries during the recording?
Possibly. We'll just add +1s if that happens. This show did very much affect me, and I'm so thankful for it. As
a kind of a meme, I sent back to him Gakugarashi cry counter 1 because this show also made me cry, and that is. I don't mean this in like a badass way. This is just like a legitimate statement. That's really difficult to do.
Yeah. Do you want to tell him what I sent you in response?
We should put the Poggers fish in the YouTube.
It's gonna be.
He sent me.
I'll put it on screen.
He sent me this fucking Poggers fish, and I.
It's the best GIF. You'll see it on screen right now if you're watching YouTube. If not, I'll put it in the link or like in a link in the description for audio only.
Put it in the anchor description.
I'll put not that link. No. That's a different GIF. Anyways, Poggers fish is the best.
He sent me Poggers fish in the middle of like the emotional final episode.
The big
and I just
emotional
lost it.
climax. I didn't know. I thought he was done with an episode. I thought he finished an episode, so I sent him, dude, Poggers fish, because I was like on what? I think I was at 9 cries at that point.
And I finally hit 1. He's just like, dude.
I said Poggers fish. I said, let's go.
That was at the beginning of episode 12. This is the beginning of episode 12, and so I was at the end when they're doing all the resolution, and I just see on my second monitor, because I have Discord open on the second monitor, I see Poggers fish pop up and start just shaking aggressively.
Oh, I love Poggers fish so much.
I couldn't keep it together.
Oh yeah, so that's how he got to end the show. And
I got to end the show with the power of Poggers fish.
And I got to end the show crying 2 times. So that was cool. We'll get there. I'll explain all of those. I know pretty much every time I cried. So
So I know we're not going episode by episode, but I think we should take the first episode as an individual thing because it sort of establishes the whole thing, especially with the twist at the end of it.
So right now,
let's talk about the very beginning.
This is the point in the episode where you can't listen any longer. If you don't want to be spoiled, and just don't get spoiled, please. You'll have a much better experience, I think.
If you ever consider watching this show, going forward from this point, only watch it if you've either seen the show or will never watch the show. If you are going to watch the show eventually or are even open to the idea, don't listen farther than here.
Yeah. No, don't. And I highly recommend this show. But we're going to be spoiling everything.
Yeah, because I picked up on a lot of stuff that I really shouldn't have in the first episode because I knew the episode 1 twist. The other twists were new to me. Everything else was new to me going forward.
Which is good.
But the episode 1 twist made episode 1 itself lose a lot of impact because I already knew it.
Yeah. All right, so we're starting with episode 1.
Episode 1, and then we'll do story.
Yeah, we'll just talk. We'll just continue talking about that. Episode 1.
We'll just go.
Episode
from
1
there.
has its own arc to it, though.
Episode 1 is a different show,
and I love and I just love it. Yeah, I love everything about it. About episode 1, it's the perfect setup, and it ties into everything that's going to come later.
Yeah, because we start off by just meeting our characters. The first thing we see is the main character, Yuki.
Yes, best girl.
And the dog, and you're objectively wrong, but we'll get to that.
Okay. And
Taromaru, who's a dog. Is he a Shiba?
I think it looked like a miniature Shiba or something.
Might have been a Shiba, and their dog Taromaru.
Yes.
Adorable little dog. I wrote down episode 1. I they started with the dog. They wrote the name of Taromaru, and I'm like, he's going to be important. Mm-hmm. I'm sure of it.
Oh yeah. Well, also, it's when there's only 7 characters in your show, and one of those 7 is a dog. It's hard for it's hard for any of them to not be important. I
mean, yeah, but I didn't know there'd be so few characters.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I also know to keep an eye out on dogs as a character. I mean, I that's a lie. I haven't played Persona 3. I know Persona 3. That should be enough for me to acknowledge dogs as main cast.
I've seen Old Yeller.
I've not.
Really?
I've not.
Okay, well.
No.
Well, let's get back into Toromaru.
Yeah, let's get back on track. Let's introduce our characters.
Yeah, so Yuki is waking up in the school.
She's late for class.
Well, she's not quite late yet. Right? She's woken up like kind of late, but she's still like not fully late because she wakes up and then goes and gets breakfast at the club room because they're all part of the school living club, right? Is that the name of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And like their thing is that they like to foster a better environment and understanding or whatever, they live in the school. Yep. They are forbidden from leaving the school.
Yep, because that's their club thing, and so then we meet the club president, which is Ri-san.
Yeah, I think her like full name is like Yuri, but she's called Ri through all of this.
It's Ri-san, and then I'm
gonna be calling her Ri.
That's what we're gonna call her. So like we're gonna basically call every character by whatever Yuki calls them.
With one exception, I got in the habit of calling Miki, whereas Yuki calls her Mi.
Oh, I call her Mikun.
Mikun.
That's what she.
Yeah, that's what Yuki calls her Mikun. If I say Miki and Mikun are the same character.
Yes.
Because I'm probably going to be calling her Miki.
I don't think we meet her at the very beginning though. Right.
We meet all of them in the club.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they're all in the club room because they're eating breakfast.
Yeah, they're eating breakfast, and Miki is reading a Stephen King novel.
Stephen King.
Which is pretty excellent.
It's great.
And actually comes back later, which surprised me.
Yes, everything in the show has meaning.
That is one thing I will give the show a lot of credit for, is everything is set up.
Literally everything.
Everything comes back later.
Nothing comes out of nowhere.
I can really, really appreciate that.
Yes. So we're on that, guys. We're on the road to getting him to admit this is a perfect show. We're on that road. All right. So they're getting breakfast, and the last member of the club, which we haven't talked about yet, is Kurumi.
Is Kurumi, aka the actual best girl?
Second best. But yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Best.
Second
we'll
best.
get to that.
We will get to that. We have a section.
We'll
dedicated.
take our gloves off and fight about it later.
Mm-hmm. That was very true. So
Kurumi twin tails, striped gloves, and a shovel. She has a shovel
and a fang.
All
Don't forget about the fang.
Oh, she is the one with the fang. That's bonus points.
No, you're right. She is a very good character, but we're gonna get into that later. Mm-hmm. So that's
they're all having breakfast.
Yep. Which Ri-san is cooking. Mm-hmm. Which is spaghetti.
Spaghetti. Yeah, I was right. I didn't write that down, but I remember.
Yeah, it's spaghetti with meat sauce.
And there's this weird moment where they really establish a bunch of characters because Yuki just like mows into it full gusto, whereas Miki takes like a single bite and then just glows in the enjoyment of delicious food.
Yep. And then Yuki copies her, and it's adorable. Because she takes the bite, and then she also starts glowing, and Kurumi comes in and says, "You don't have to do it like that, actually."
And Miki's just like, "Hey, please don't try to be me. Yeah. This is awkward."
Yeah, and then Yuki, and then I believe it's Ri-kun or Ri-san says, "Hey, you're gonna be late if you don't hurry," and Yuki says, "Oh," and starts shoveling it in her mouth again, which exactly what she was doing before.
And they're just like, "Dude, wait." Okay, I'm going to detour a little bit because this is something that weirded me out. Why did she call Miki Mikun? Because if I'm remembering correctly, isn't Kun like specifically a male suffix?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I thought for sure it was.
No,
Maybe
I'm pretty sure it's just
nuts.
like for close friends.
Okay, well,
I don't know. Look that up though, because I could be wrong and just misremembering. I doubt it though. I'm pretty.
Who's the one who took a Japanese college course?
Both of us.
Oh wait, you're right. Never mind. You're right. It can.
Yeah.
on rare occasions be used for women. Okay, I thought it was like specifically male only.
But it kind of.
Never mind.
But there's
I take
a
that
thing
back.
with that too, because as we learn later,
It's considered more respectful than Chan, but not as respectful as San.
right? It's like in the middle ground. But the thing is, right, is that Mikun is kind of like the she's kind of like the God, this is gonna sound weird. She's kind of like the guy. She's kind of like a tomboy. But not kind of. She
also seems like the most grounded.
She's the most grounded.
If that makes sense.
And I don't it like calling her Kun like really like fits. Like she's not a boy at all. Like she's 100% a girl. All of these characters are girls. There's only like 2 guys that show up in this show.
For like very minuscule amounts of time.
And they're both in episode 1.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
No?
Yes.
Wait, I thought one of them was later. I thought it was in Sakura's episode. Or Megune's episode.
Is that... Oh, wait. Maybe that one is later. Whatever. It's in the first couple episodes.
Yeah, I think that's like episode 2.
Yeah. Anyways...
oh, yeah. No, it's definitely not episode 1, because the other one's also episode 2. I do have a note about that.
They're both episode 2?
I think so.
Okay, well, whatever. We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that once we finish 1, because we do need to talk about episode 1 separately.
So, so she and I is, Megune is not in the club room at this point, right? The club advisor.
I don't remember.
No, she's
I don't
not.
think so.
She's not, because Yuki runs to her class and is almost late, but she makes it giri giri seifu. And there's a lot of really cute
and
things.
Megune's teaching that one. That's where we introduced to her.
Yes, Megune is there teaching it. She is adorable. She has pink hair. I definitely don't have a type, I swear.
Weren't you the one who literally in our last episode got so angry about a pink-haired character named Sakura, and yet you're completely okay with this one?
Well, yeah, because that one, that's like her whole character.
Yeah, but she's being carried.
This one, she's
Sakura.
also
it's a
not.
Big brain move.
She's not called
big
Sakura.
Brain move.
She's not called Sakura in this show, though.
But that's her name, though.
Yeah, but she's called Megune.
She keeps insisting that she should be called Sakura Sensei, which she should be. But then no one does that because they're all a bunch of disrespectful little goblins.
Well, also, she treats them like equals. So why would you call an equal a sensei? So it's also on her.
Because she's the sensei.
But that's why she gets yelled at by the principal.
She's basically one of the boys.
She's just one of the boys, dude. Cracking over the cold one. Join us. Dude, Megune, join us on the podcast, bro.
Dude, honestly, she's chill. She'd be welcome to talk about anime with us.
No, but I mean, I will submit to that point. The reason though, the last episode it bugged me is because last episode that character,
because you hated last show.
Well, also that character didn't have a personality. She had a trope applied to her, whereas Megune feels like a person.
I mean, to a degree, yeah. I don't feel like Sakura in Classroom of the Elite was that less of a person, but you seem very adamant. Speaking of Classroom of the Elite, I looked into...
Oh, God, more of this?
Assuming I looked into this correctly. No, this is relevant, trust me. I looked into the studio behind Gakugarashi. And if I'm not mistaken, it's the same studio that did Classroom of the Elite, as well as Assassination Classroom and the Danganronpa animations.
I'm looking through right now. I don't see Classroom of the Elite.
I mean, I pulled it up on my anime list. Studio Lerche.
Yeah, Studio Lerche. Oh, there it is. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, so this is the same. It's
the same studio. Yeah, but what really matters though is the staff. That's like the key. So like so director is Masaomi Ando, but the two directors for Classroom of the Elite was Seiji Kishi and Hiroyuki Hashimoto.
Okay, see, let me do a quick preface. I'm not so familiar with looking for director. I'm used to looking at studio.
Yeah.
Because I remember digging through a whole bunch of Studio Trigger stuff. Because I remember Fire Force was Trigger. Yes.
No.
No. Which one was Fire Force?
Fire Force? I don't remember. Bones, probably.
Because Fire Force was the same studio that I had already watched several shows from.
It's probably Bones. That sounds right.
I think it is Bones. Yeah, because that's why I think to look into the studio, because I remember attributing several shows with similar style to the same studio.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
And that's why I specifically looked up studio for this when I was on Mal.
I mean, I think for...
we do also use different websites.
Yeah.
Seaweed and I use different websites. I think this has been established. I tend to default to my anime.
And I use the Superior AniList. One thing I wanted to say... like, looking at studios is, like, it's a pretty decent way to get a feel for things, I think, sometimes, but a lot of times, like, if you just say, like, when you say, like, Studio Trigger or, like, Kyoto Animations, those two, like, there's a very specific, like, style that those have, like, what a Studio Trigger show is and a Kyoto Animation show is, but, like...
Which one's Trigger? Why do I know
Trigger? They did Kill la Kill.
Kill la Kill. Okay.
That's
for some reason, I was thinking Kill la Kill and Fire Force were the same studio. For some reason.
Promare is their firefighter one. That's a movie. It's their most recent thing, I think.
What was the other thing that the Fire Force studio did? Oh, was it Soul Eater?
That's the same mangaka.
That close enough. My point stands.
Does it? Studio Bones might have also done Soul Eater, but like the manga was written by the same guy for those two.
Who did Soul Eater? Because I remember watching Soul Eater like 2 years ago, and I really liked it. We should talk about Soul Eater someday.
That's a very long show.
Oh, geez, yes it is. Published by Square Enix. Okay, how about we get back on topic?
Yeah, okay, but what I wanted to say though is that looking at studios is a good start for some, but like other studios like A1 Pictures, for instance, they have so much that you're not going to be able to get a good picture of like saying like they made this show, but like how does that like they made Sword Art Online, but they've also made some like really good stuff too. I can't think of any right now because I don't know their studio. Well, I don't know their studio that well. I know they make good stuff though.
This almost makes me wish though if it was the same studio as the Dangan Animations, if they'd had like a Monokuma in it again, like they did with Classroom. Because there was like a ton of teddy bears. There was like 5 teddy bears in the show, and none of them were Monokuma.
Well, that's because that was the same director. It wasn't the same. It wasn't just because of the same studio. It was the same director who did the Danganronpa anime. Also did Classroom of the Elite, but Gakko Garashi's director had nothing to do with Danganronpa.
I'm running low on drink. I'm gonna put this away from me because I'm gonna need to save that for the second half.
Oh, good night. We're already getting there. Okay.
I'm definitely gonna need to save that for the second half.
Yes, clearly. Oh man. Okay. So let's So she makes it to class. Whatever. She's talking to her friends. Which is.
There's like these 3 girls that Yuki hangs out with a bunch.
And they...
And Megane's there.
Yeah, Megane comes in, and then she starts class, and immediately, like that, Yuki is asleep. Yuki just falls asleep.
Instantaneous.
And it's adorable. Okay, here's something you gotta know. Everything Yuki does is adorable, and if you think you're not, then you're wrong. And I know you're wrong.
Disagreed, but okay.
You're wrong. Trust me, I know.
Look, no, I find that particular character archetype to be very annoying. I personally found Yuki pretty annoying.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, you're wrong, and it's okay.
In my opinion, Yuki was the worst character.
God, that's so... Okay. We're gonna get there later. We'll get there.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Anyway.
So like she falls asleep or whatever.
We haven't finished episode 1.
No,
let's get there.
Let's just get through it. Let's get through it. So
let's speed.
So she falls asleep
Speed
and then
racer.
like I believe it's Kurumi comes in, opens the door, and starts yelling at her.
No, it's Miki.
Oh, that's right. It's Mikun. Mikun comes in, opens the door, it's like, hey, Toromaru got out, and stuff, and like everybody in class is just kind of looking at her.
Yeah, and Yuki's like, bro, we're in class. Why are you shouting?
Oh, and then she's like, oh, sorry, and closes the door. And then Yuki immediately says, hey, I'm not feeling well. Can I go to the nurse's office?
And Nope's out to go look for tomorrow. Teromaru.
Yes.
Look, we're getting to that point where long names are difficult.
Thank goodness everybody else has a nickname. So she goes out with Mikun to look for him. And then they eventually find him. whatever.
Yeah, and they do the same joke a second time where Miki opens the door and starts shouting, and they're just like, "She's in class!"
Yep, and it's funny the second time also, because it's from a different perspective, because you're getting the outside of the classroom looking in instead of the inside out, which helps keep the joke fresh, instead of the same thing. And eventually they find Toromaru, and then...
Yeah, they end up on the roof at one bit where there's a bunch of gardening stuff.
Yes, with the gardening club, where Ri-san is up there taking care of the plants and stuff, and they catch Toromaru because Ri-san scares the living daylights out of Toromaru, Yuki, everybody.
Ri-san, they do this multiple times. Ri-san is super chill, but she can put on this mega intimidating vibe and just scare everyone stiff.
Yeah, she's like the mom of the group. Or she is.
She has strong mom energy.
And she gives that mom look. Like, what's going to happen with one look, She gives that look, so...
Even Toromaru stops, and they pick him up.
Yep. And that's how they catch him. And then they apologize to the gardening club and everything, and head out, and Yuki goes back to class. And
this is when we get the plot reveal of the first episode.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, before this, as they're walking down the hall, we see some broken glass, a broken window. And it's that's interesting.
And we also...
Oh.
Yeah, why are all the windows broken if class is still in session? There's one other thing I noticed, but I'm going to talk about it right after. I'm going to bring it up once we say the reveal. But when Yuki goes back to class, I don't remember the exact circumstances of it, I'll be completely honest.
So she goes back to class, she's talking with her friends, those three girls, and then Mikun...
We see it from a different perspective. We've been seeing this from Yuki's vision, but we see Miki's view this time.
And all of the windows are shattered, all the desks are turned over, except for hers.
Yuki is sitting by herself in a dark, destroyed, bloody classroom.
Yes, with nobody else there. And she is talking to people.
She's talking to literally nothing. And we get a pan out, and we see the courtyard filled with zombies.
And that's how episode 1 ends.
That's the end of episode 1.
Yes, and it's perfect.
That's... The twist of episode 1 that's the setup of the entire show is that our main character is delusional and doesn't realize everything's gone down.
Yep. And she thinks everything else is normal, and all the other characters are playing along with it, essentially, yeah.
To try to keep her from, I don't know, breaking down, because they need her optimism.
Yes, because otherwise they're gonna just go insane if they don't have somebody who's optimistic.
Or else they'll sink into despair.
They will, yeah. That's true.
Sorry, Danganronpa came out.
Don't apologize for Danganronpa. Never apologize.
But this is the twist that I knew going into it that I shouldn't have known, because like I said, I watched all the intros side by side. Do we want to go ahead and talk about the intros?
Let's talk about the intros, because it's a banger.
But the other thing that I picked up is when they go to the rooftop the first time and they're talking to Ri-san, you can see a gravestone in the garden.
Yep. Well, also, there's also this little thing here, because the only time you ever see any other people up there is when they're apologizing. You never see any other people up there except for Ri-san, and then when they're apologizing, you see some silhouettes essentially.
They look like cardboard cutouts. When I complained about this in what was it, in Gleipnir, I think, when all of the background characters were just shadows or cutouts or whatever.
Yeah.
They did that in this one. All of the characters that Yuki sees are cutouts, and so you could easily early on assume that it's just they're not important, so it's a budget thing or whatever. But no, it's Yuki's the only one who sees them,
and it's being set up specifically. And I loved all of those little touches, because there's also a couple moments in that episode, when Mikun opens the door, and she's talking, and then she doesn't realize that Yuki's in class until Yuki says something. Because she's just
she's shouting into this quote unquote full classroom the entire time.
But she doesn't see it that way. and she doesn't react that way until she's told, which is a really great thing, I think. Like, it's a really great it also, like, it displays her character as well, like, really quickly, in like Miku, one quick scene.
Yeah, because she's like, Miku, I'm in class, and she's like, oh, sorry, and then just, like, steps back out.
Yes.
Because we find out later, Mikun is, like, or Miki, or whoever, is, like, the least in on this.
Well, yeah, she's the newest member of the group. They picked her up later.
Whereas all the others were in the school. When everything went down, she was brought to the school.
Yes. Yeah, and so she doesn't know, or she's not fully used to all of Yuki's mannerisms, I guess would be the right way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so she's still kind of, like, trying to keep up to speed.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's the plot twist, and we see this going forward. We see, like, we get sequences that are in Yuki's view, but we also get, like, the perspective of the others, like, trying to keep pace with Yuki and, like, not shatter her illusion per se, because they still need her around.
And for the most part, I think too, even when we're seeing it from Yuki's point of view, we still see the like, cracks in the walls, like all the broken windows. We're still seeing reality as far as it is, but, like, we'll see pieces of Yuki's reality as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and going forward, the show sticks with this, like, where we get bits of both of them. Like, we'll have a sequence where both of them are just, where all the girls are just goofing off, having a fun time, like they do a sports meet, or they hang out in the pool, or episodes. Then we get other halves of them where they're, like, trying to dodge zombies, or scouting out the lower levels, and they're trying to, like, make up excuses for Yuki as they're doing it.
Yeah.
So as not to break the illusion.
Yep. So let's go ahead and get into those OPs.
Let's get into the OPs, because the original OP, it's super chill. It's your average
like
cute girl do cute things intro. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's just her running around the school.
And, like, all the characters kind of show up and do something cute to a banger of a song.
It is a really good song.
Very upbeat.
There's good animation.
Happy.
There's
very good animation.
And obligatory awkward titty bounce, because it's anime and you have to have those for some reason.
Well, it fit. That's the only time that happens, though, is in the OP.
Yeah, they don't do that anywhere else in the show, which I'm very grateful for, because it is not that kind of show.
I mean, there's, like, a couple times when they do the pool episode, and, like, Miki looks at, because Miki is, I guess, probably, like, the smallest of all of them.
This is our 5th episode of A Shot of Weeb.
Uh-huh.
The pool episode of this show is the first time that I had nothing at all to write, save for one singular note in a post-credit scene.
Okay.
This is the first time I've had an episode so devoid of anything worthwhile that I didn't write anything down.
Incorrect. Devoid of anything worthwhile? That is,
They play in a pool. They have a Wild West shootout with water guns, and they play in a pool.
Okay, but yeah, where are they at? They're not playing in a pool. They're playing in their water reservoir.
Well, yes, but it's the closest thing they have to a pool when they're not allowed to leave the school grounds.
Right. And this is, like, their one time in a long time that they've been able to have, like, a free, like, fun time.
Yeah, because they're, like, intentionally taking time off because they just had a major revelation at this point.
Yeah, and so you're going to tell me that this episode is worthless.
I wrote exactly one note on that episode, and it was in the final sequence, because there's actually a very important reveal at the end of that episode.
Mm-hmm. Which is? Or do you want to wait?
I mean, we're not there yet, but I don't know when we're going to get there. I don't really know. Where do we go from here? There's, like... I do want to make a comment that, like, I'm not a fan of 3D in anime, because it's, like, very often not done well.
Mm-hmm. I'm not either.
And I had that same awkward feeling here, because the zombies, whenever they're seen from a distance, the zombies are always rendered.
Mm-hmm.
Which just felt a little weird to me, I'll be completely honest.
I mean, it's a budgetary thing. The way I took it, or the way I kind of interpreted it, was that...
The way we interpreted it... Dang, we're definitely reviewers now.
It separated the, like, main cast, who are all, like, alive and, like, still of themselves, with these like things that are no longer human but kind of human, and kind of go into that, like, I would say that zombies are kind of like in that uncanny valley of creepy. Like that's kind of the area that they sit around, because they're close to human but they're not. I mean, obviously they're not.
Yeah, and it's definitely not the worst I've seen either.
Right. No, but I think it fits thematically as well, because most of the time the zombies, you never see a full zombie. Like, you never see what they actually look like fully. They're either covered in shadow, you see the backs of them,
or from really far away.
Really far away. Like, you never get details of the zombies, which I love. I love that.
I think that is a good touch, actually. I didn't really think of that, but that is good. But, like, I think it's a little jarring, but it's overall, like, decent. Because, like, I've definitely had some... I absolutely love Zombieland Saga. I was considering it for our next episode, but I didn't want to do 2 zombie shows in a row.
Mm-hmm.
But there's that one bit in Zombieland Saga when out of nowhere, these 2D characters from the whole time, they do their pop show, and it's like immediately 3D, and you're just like, what am I looking at?
It's really bad. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of times where that happens. I think this is one of the better uses of that, especially was it
you or Jay that showed me the, like, Berserk intro versus the Berserk show or whatever it was?
Probably him.
It was one of the two. You showed me a bunch of clips from Berserk, and I'm just like,
Berserk
why?
2016 is terrible, and 2017 is garbage. Watch Berserk 98.
I'll have to watch it eventually to find out how bad it actually
watch
is.
Watch Berserk 98. Okay, because that's the beginning. That's the beginning.
That show's as old as I am. I can't watch something that old.
Oh my... See, this is what would happen. You were saying, like, we should be in the same room when we're recording this, but see, if that would happen and you were to say something like that, I might just stab you.
How many lines have I said over these past 5 episodes that would get me thrown out a window?
How many? I don't have enough fingers to count right now.
I think I put on, like, Twitter or something. I don't know if you saw, but I was like, I just realized that when we're recording this show, I drop a lot of hot takes. I should be more careful.
So many. It's bad. It's bad. They're not even good hot takes either. This show's old.
Okay, look. I can gel with old... I don't like the animation style the art style that a lot of old shows have.
Which is what?
If there are exceptions, like, I don't know how old this is, but I watched the movie of Lupin the Third, the Fuma Clan Conspiracy.
Uh-huh.
That one was good. It was the old art style, which felt a little odd, but it was still good. But I'm not a fan of the look of that era of show.
Okay, but here's the thing, right? How many of those shows have you seen?
I have not finished any of them.
Exactly. I think
I think the most progress I made on a show of, like, that, like, 20-year span or whatever is I got partway through Evangelion. But then I got busy. I went back to college, and I didn't finish it.
Okay. Look, I don't like that mindset at all, personally.
I know, and I'm trying to get past it.
I'm going to make you watch old shows.
I legitimately want to watch Devilman Crybaby, because I've heard excellent things about it.
It's the best.
Let me finish. I tapped out of it the first time because I could not get past the art style, and I want to get better about that.
Yeah. Because you're going to find a lot of shows that if you're just limiting yourself to, like, one art style, then you're really limiting yourself.
Yeah,
you know?
And there's also some older shows that I can gel, quote unquote older. Don't shoot me for this one. Death Note looks a bit aged, but I was able to get by it.
Then why didn't you finish it?
That bad? Because reasons, okay. I knew you were gonna make this jab, but I needed to bring it up.
That's not even that old. Death Note's 2006, I'm pretty sure.
2005, excuse you. But we're not talking about a show from 2005, we're talking about a show from 2015. Why don't we pick up where we left off?
Where did we leave off?
I don't remember either. We finished our discussion of episode 1.
Yeah.
Let's save the OPs till, like, towards the end.
Okay.
Let's talk about the OPs after we've talked about the show, but before we give our final thoughts.
Okay.
Because I kind of want to have, like, a comprehensive view of the show before we go into that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I think, God, I don't even know where to start with this show. Just talking about it.
Yeah, neither do I. We get a little bit of the background on some of the characters. Like, we have a sequence where we see Megane driving to the school, getting chewed up by her teacher. There's a bunch of cars with sirens go by. We see a helicopter go over, which actually, in a later sequence, also talking about the start of the outbreak, we see a helicopter go over. So there's some continuity there.
Yes.
Which I thought was really good, because the helicopter's a small detail. Like, it's barely there. But it's in both of the flashback sequences.
Yep.
Which establishes the exact time these are happening.
Yes, exactly. It helps ground everything, give it a solid timeline. I do think that there's one point in the show when it gets a little confusing in timeline, but it's still not like that bad.
Yes, okay. Since you brought it up, I'm going to say this right now. I did get a little confused about the timeline, because basically, like, the first few episodes happen at one point, and I'm not sure where the first few episodes fall, because then we have a couple of episodes before Miki arrives, and the rest of the episodes after Miki arrives.
Yeah.
But, like, it goes from when Miki arrives until the end of the show. And the first few episodes are presumably in that last span, but I don't know where.
So the first few episodes, that happens in between. God, I didn't write what happens in each episode. I wrote like very weird notes this time, but I wrote notes, so be proud. But like,
I still say it's a terrifying thought that I'm the one who's taking notes. I did not take notes in like the entirety of high school.
I mean, neither did I. I didn't do it in college either.
I did it on college when the professors were looking.
I didn't even do it. I pretended to write something.
I played Hearthstone in class and still did well on tests.
I just kind of like...
That's going to sound like I'm bragging. I'm not meaning to brag. I'm sorry.
We're not smart, okay? We made a podcast about...
Okay, I don't know about you.
Yeah, we're not smart, okay?
We took some college... To give you an idea of like how much our hobbies in our college like overlapped, we had a course together this past year. This past year was our senior year. We had a class together where we talked about the history of television. Yes. And we had a project where we had to pitch a show, and we wrote an anime for our professor.
We wrote an isekai anime.
We wrote an isekai!
We literally...
Wait, no, it wasn't an isekai. It was an isekai setting, but it wasn't like actually an isekai.
That's right. It was like a high fantasy...
isekai adjacent.
Yeah.
And we had a legitimate discussion about whether or not we could reference one of the characters' looks to be similar to that of something from Ishizoku Reviewers.
Because somebody in our class watches anime and we couldn't risk it.
We didn't know if he'd call us out on it.
Yeah, we couldn't risk it. But regardless, God, where were we? We keep going on these tangents. I get completely lost. Okay, look, I'm gonna say I think we need to do the other major spoiler in the show. I think that'll help us talk about open up a lot more.
Yeah, so there's like a lot of things that happen. We get some backstory on a couple of the characters and how they were like out and about during the thing. Actually, the other twist happens after another important plot point. It happens after the school outing. We should talk about the school outing.
I mean, I guess, but I think it's gonna...
My suggestion is talk about the school outing, take our break, and then we do the other twist, the ending, the intro, and then the final thoughts.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about the...
That's gonna be our outline for the rest of this.
Cool. Yeah. Now you guys know that's the little behind the scenes, because we don't do behind the scenes. We do it on the scenes.
No, do the YouTube thing where we like mark the sequences that we talk about.
Oh God, how do you do? I don't know how to do that.
I don't know how to do that. I'll be honest.
I'm not going to figure it out, honestly. I don't know. Maybe I will. We'll see. If it's there, then I was really putting in effort.
Okay. So there's an important side sequence that matters where there's a time skip back and we go back to before Miki is there.
Yes.
It's just the other three and Megane the teacher.
Mm-hmm. Because she's the club advisor, and they've like already everything's already like happened. They've already set up the school living club for Yuki.
Yeah, and that's why only those three are there, is because we see the actual outbreak happen. Is Megane is with Yuki, I think.
Yes.
And then they bump into Kurumi, who is with an injured friend of hers, and they all go to the roof where they bump into Ri, who's part of the gardening club.
Yes, and none of them knew each other beforehand.
None of them. And so we get to the roof, and it's the three girls minus Miki, and Megane on the roof, plus a dude who was revealed as a person Kurumi was crushing on.
Yes. Who
Okay.
also got a bite, and Kurumi had to kill him.
Yes. He transforms and tries to bite Kurumi, and this is where she gets the shovels from. She gets the shovel from the rooftop and just, like, straight murders the man.
Yes. And
I mean, he's already dead, so I guess it's not murder, but still, you get the point.
yeah, but like the way the show talks about the zombies, the way the show talks about the zombies, though, it definitely like opens a lot of questions, you know.
Yes, and I feel like that's something we should address towards the end, because this isn't revealed. This isn't properly revealed towards the end.
Right, yeah, that's fair.
It's hinted towards, but it's not confirmed.
Yes.
But that's how the whole group gets together, and then Yuki suggests a club outing, and they're like, okay, let's bend the rules, and, like, without telling Yuki, they're like, we need to pick up supplies anyway. So they hijack Megane's car. They send Kurumi, because she's strong enough to wield the shovel. She's, like, the fighter of the group.
She's the athletic.
Plus, she was in the track club, so she's super athletic.
She's really fast and can, like, maneuver her way through the zombies, which is also helpful.
Yeah, and so they go to Megane's car. And they all pack in. It's a 4-seater. There's
4 of them.
4? Yes, 4 of them. 4 of them. But then, for some reason, they don't let Megane drive. They let Kurumi drive because Megane says she hasn't driven in a while.
Well, Megane is like a kind of a reckless driver. And, or not like reckless, but she's not very good.
So far,
she's not very good.
So far, the only theme from Megane is that she has, like, no presence. Like, people will, like, forget to acknowledge her.
Yeah.
Or, like, talk over her.
And she...
That's a mood and a half, because I'm exactly like that. I am a 6'1" fat man, and I can just disappear in a 3-person crowd. No one knows I'm there.
Nice. That's actually, like, a ninja skill, honestly.
No, I hate it, because it's so awkward when I try to say something and no one notices, and I'm just like, all right, I guess I'll go die.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Anyway, they all go to the mall. They do stuff at the mall. Things happen. They get swimsuits because, quote, we're girls.
Yeah. Which I thought was... I actually really liked that. I don't know how you felt about it, but, like...
I thought that was a bit weird. I legitimately thought that was a bit weird when they used the, we're only girls excuse. I'm just like...
Well, okay, but here's the thing, right? They didn't all use that excuse. The only one who says that is Ri-san.
It's only Ri that ever says that.
She's the only one who ever says that. And I think that says kind of a lot about her character. Like, she wants to keep... I think, like, she kind of wants to keep things normal, keep it at the status quo that it was before everything happened.
Yeah, because she's also the one who's, like, ringleading the effort to keep Yuki in the dark. Because when Miki shows up, she's like, hey, there's a bad idea. And Kurumi is also the first one to agree with Miki about that.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
But while they're in the mall, we get this, like, side clip where we find out that Miki, or not even a side clip, it's like a side episode, where Miki and her friend Rei were in the mall when the outbreak happened, instead of in the school like everyone else was. And they also meet Teromaru while they're in the mall. He's like some old lady's dog.
Yes.
And the outbreak happens, they find a bunch of dead people in the elevator, and they barricade themselves in a storeroom, and they just, like, chill there. Until Kay decides she's not cool with it. Why don't you take over? I'm talking too much.
Yeah, Kay decides that she doesn't want to just stay there, and she wants to live, not survive. I think is the way she put it.
That's like Kay's quote, is just living enough.
Yeah. Or just surviving isn't enough.
I forget what the exact the exact
I should have written that one down, but it was very
because they come back to that a lot.
Yeah, because it was very well. I watched it on the, like, official release. Like, I have the Blu-ray for the show.
I used the same shady ass website I always do.
Gamer dude, but
the shady ass website that everyone uses.
Yeah. The webs. I mean, I just wanted to say that the translation for that line specifically, the whole show was very well done. But that line specifically was very good, and I really liked that quote. But
I think the sub I watched said is just living enough. I don't think they use the term surviving. I think they use just living.
Yeah.
In mine.
I'm not sure what exactly they used in mine, but I remember loving it. And so Anyway, so she leaves, and Mikun stays behind and says, "Oh, I will wait for you here." Yeah, and they
split up.
I'll wait for you because Ray says she's going to go get help.
Or it's not Ray, it's Kay.
Okay, oh, sorry, Kay.
I think I said that wrong. Yeah. That's my fault. It was Kay.
Yeah, Kay says she's going to go get help.
Yeah, and just like pieces out, and then Miki and Toromaru stay until tomorrow doesn't stay and nopes out.
Yeah, he leaves while Mikun's sleeping.
And while Kay leaves, actually, she gets like really angry and shouts at Toromaru, which is why Toromaru will like not associate with her at any other point in the show, because that had been teased before that Toromaru is like edgy around Kay.
Yeah.
Or Miki, sorry.
Yeah. And so that all happens, and then now we're back in the mall.
Yes, the group goes on their school outing. And they're like, Yuki, there's a concert going on, so stay quiet. We don't want to disturb them.
Mm-hmm.
And they sneak through. They get things. They buy things, which they still leave money on the counter for some reason, even though it's a zombie apocalypse.
Well, I think that's so Yuki thinks it's normal.
That's fair.
That's what they're always trying to do, is make sure that Yuki doesn't like get upset about what's happening and realize everything, because that would ruin everything.
That's fair. Miki hears them. They don't find Miki. Miki tries to leave, gets cornered by a bunch of zombies. Yuki hears them and is like, Megane, did you hear something? And the others are like, no, you're stupid.
Yeah.
And then Yuki runs back in, and the others follow, and they see Miki standing on a piano surrounded by zombies.
Yep.
Because she had tried to escape and follow them.
And then Ri uses this weird alarm charm thing.
Yeah, that they had teased earlier, because Yuki was wanting to pull the cord, and she's like, don't do it. She pulled out the mom aura again.
Yep. And then it like does like a dog whistle, essentially, which messes with the zombies because it messes with their hearing, which is what they mainly use, I think, in this show, is hearing.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be very audio-focused zombies.
And they're all able to escape, and they all get back into the car.
Mm-hmm. All 5 of them get in a 4-seater car. That's important later.
Very important. And they're able to make it back to the thing, but on the way Risan asks Kurumi and says, hey, are you sure you don't want to stop by your house? It's on the way back.
Oh, I didn't catch this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she asks her that, and Kurumi says, no, I think she says something like, it's important we just get back. And I'd rather just get back safe with all of us than risk anything else today, or something like that.
I actually didn't notice that. I must have looked away for a moment. My bad.
Yeah, because that might have come in a later episode, but that's like in that same drive. And then we get back there, and then we kind of get the big reveal after this happens. Right?
Yeah.
But I think before we reveal it, we're going to leave you guys hanging.
We're going to take a break because I've got to pee like you wouldn't believe. We need to take a few
Why
minutes.
do you have to say that, dude?
I know. I make fun of you for saying it every time, but I'm like actively dying here.
All right.
So let's take our intermission, and then we'll get back to our regularly scheduled program right after.
Alrighty, welcome back to the second half of A Shot of Weeb, and we're about to tell you the second big twist of the show.
The second big twist of Gakugarashi, also known as School Live, Live or Live, one of the two.
I think it's Live, but it might be Live. Who knows?
It could be either one. I don't speak Japanese.
Anyways, the twist is I'm just gonna say it outright. Megane.
You're just gonna say it?
I'm just gonna say it because I mean I think that's the best way to do it. If they're watching up to this point, they've already seen the show.
Fair, and then we can go back and talk about what led up to it.
Right. Megane is dead. She's been dead the whole time, except, like, she's been dead almost the entire show. Mm-hmm. And she's not real. She's just a figment of Yuki's imagination.
Yes. And so this is one of the things that I said I didn't quite catch on to this one, but I suspected it. I have a note in my notes on episode 2 that says, "Is Megune alive?" Because I wasn't sure, because a lot of the characters, like, again, she has no presence. They talk over her. They, like, ignore her statements at times. And I'm like, okay, she's not real, is she? She's not real. But they do a good enough job over the next several episodes faking it. Because the other girls are playing along with the delusion, and so they'll, like, stop and thank Megune.
Yep.
And so I pushed it out of mind. And I'm like, okay, I'm still not sure, but I guess it was just me overthinking it. And they do the reveal, and I'm like, oh, wait, I was right.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. I don't expect me to be right. We established in Classroom of the Elite that I am astoundingly gullible.
I mean, the first time I watched this show, I didn't realize. But, I mean, I figured, like, they already had the one big twist. Why would they have a second big twist to the show?
I did suspect that Megane was dead, but there was enough to make me unsure enough that I wasn't confident. But then when it happened at the end, I was like, oh, wait. Okay, fair. I should have seen that coming. Mm-hmm. And that's also why I mentioned in episode 1 that you can see a gravestone in the garden. That was Megune's. Yes. I should have caught on.
That was hers. But it's not her. She's not buried there. Because
it's just a memorial.
She got turned into a zombie. And she's
I don't think we should have said that just yet, but yes.
Look, if they're watching up to this point, they've seen the show.
Yes, and we also don't have that much time left because we do have a couple like other like mini segments still to get to. Yes. We need to like speed through.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily speed through, but we definitely need to do.
Just gonna talk about the major points, I think.
We need to not do 25 minutes on the first episode like we did last time.
But the thing is, with this first episode, it's very important to the rest of the show.
Yes, everything this is one that set up has to be established.
The fact that Megane is not in the club room in episode 1 when Yuki goes there in the morning is in... Oh God, I hope that's right. I hope she's not there. Because I realized that the teacher, Yuki's teacher is not Megane.
You're right. There's one other teacher that appears like twice in the show.
Yeah. But I mean, I really hope that Megane is not in that club room at the beginning. She isn't, is she?
I don't think so. I don't think we see Megane until Yuki goes to class. I think I didn't specifically write it down because I didn't know it was important.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I didn't even think it was going to be important either. But like, if that's the case, then like that right there sets up that Megane is separate from everybody else because she's separated completely. She's not in the same room.
Yeah. And it also turns out she died really early because I did like that indented notes where I keep like building on the previous note. And in episode 6 is when this is revealed. And I have a note where I was like, everyone ignores Sakura, and then I put the note that, oh wait, I was right, she's dead. In from that, when did she die? In from that, really early on. In from that, I put first day, which wasn't correct. We should find out later. It was like a couple days in. They're building barricades on like the second floor stairwell or something like that. Mm-hmm. Which is apparently when Megane died.
Yeah, because they were trying to escape, and she blocked off the zombies by closing a door, and she left herself in with the room with the zombies.
Mm-hmm. And the only thing they were able to recover is a ribbon. That's another thing that like happens a couple of times is we see articles of clothing, like hinting to previous events. Because one of Sakura's friends, or not Sakura, sorry, one of Yuki's friends in class early on has like a choker. They have a conversation about her choker. Mm-hmm. And when they do like the reveal that she's been talking to literally nobody, one of the things we see is that choker torn on a desk.
Bloody, and yeah. And the thing I'd think... Okay, so this is something I wrote in my notes because the worst part about the zombies, and like this is one of the things that made me cry at one point, is that every zombie that we see any detail on is somebody that we knew.
Yeah, because usually they're like mostly just like a distance or like they
generic
put this like this clouded effect on it.
Or it's like a generic kind of like person. But like
the big thing is they put this like clouded shroud on them.
Yeah.
But in some cases we can still see some detail. Like when Megune comes back as a zombie, we can still see her hair.
And we can see her dress. We never see her face. But
this reminds me of one comment that I do have, though, is we see Yuki's friend's choker on a desk, but we bump into her zombie later, and she's still wearing the choker.
I mean, I think it's... I don't know. I didn't notice that.
That is a weird incongruity that I'm pretty certain I picked up, and it confused me. I'm like, wait, didn't they establish that that's on a desk? Like, where is it?
I don't know. I would have to double check with that, because I'm not 100% sure. Because what I noticed was the red streak from her hair is clearly visible on that zombie. And then the other two girls...
Yeah, she has the kill hair.
And the other two girls are also with her. And their hairstyles are very distinct.
Oh, wait, were the other two girls zombies with her too? I didn't catch that.
The other two are with her. Those three are always together, which...
I did not notice that.
Yeah, which we're not going to talk about the plot anymore, I don't think, because, like, for the most part...
we bounced around and talked about most of it. We got to talk about, like, how it ends, basically.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, but, like... One of the big things with the zombies is, like, I'm sure you know, is that, like, there's this whole idea that they're not sure if it's true or not, but, like, that the zombies retain some memories.
Yes, they repeatedly throughout the show suspect that they're still at least mildly aware, given their actions around the school.
Because they'll walk into school when it's raining. They're always coming back to school every day. They're
hanging out on, like, the track club and stuff like that.
They're hanging out, like, where they would be at. And they're trying to get where they would normally be at throughout the day. And if they hear something over the loudspeaker, they'll follow it, because that's what they would do if they were, regular students.
And this isn't confirmed until the very end. In the very end, they go into the basement. I forget exactly why Sakura went into the basement. Not Sakura, sorry. Karumi went into the basement
because she went to go get Toromaru.
Toromaru ran off to the basement. Karumi went to the basement to get Toromaru. Finds Toromaru as a zombie.
Yes.
Which is one of the things I saw coming. I will talk about that when we get to the intro section.
And that made me cry.
We find Toromaru is turned into a zombie, and then we find out that he was most likely turned by Sakura, who has trapped herself in the basement level.
It's not a most likely. She is the one who did it.
Well, yeah, because I suppose we don't see any others down there.
She's the only zombie in that section, even after the alarm goes off.
Yeah.
No other zombies there, because they can't, like... The zombies can't, like, bend down. They can only, like, walk.
Yeah, and so there's, like, this half-closed grate, and so we can only assume that Megane intentionally trapped herself off so she wouldn't harm the survivors.
Yeah. But she also left it open so they could leave.
Or so they could get in.
So they could get in enough, because that's the only safe place. That was the escape.
And that's also where there's cures. There were cures stashed down there.
That's the
and that becomes important because when Karumi, she fights off Toromaru, but she bumps into Sakura and can't kill her. She, like, freezes and Sakura bites her.
Yeah.
And so Miki has to go down and get the cure because she won't have that same delay.
Yeah. She's the only one who didn't know Megane, so she wouldn't have that issue.
But this is where we confirm that the zombies are at least semi-sentient, because they go into the room that Megane was trapped in, and she had written the names of the other three girls, followed by Liv. And
we'd seen her a couple times before this also, sitting there, writing. And the first few times we thought it was just her as a person, and before she had fully turned. And then we find out that, no, this was her routine. And this is what she did. And so she would come back here every day to write in this diary. Oh boy. Yeah, this part really got me.
I didn't put two and two together that, like, her writing, like, her, like, diary entries was the same thing. I don't think it was, actually, because they were in different locations, because she was writing while she was in the staff room for a while.
No, that was her note. There's a few other scenes where she's in that room. Writing in this
I hadn't put that together.
Yeah.
But
No,
that's
there
where we
is
get...
one section where she's like writing, not like a suicide note, but like her will. Her will.
Yeah, that was in the teacher staff room, wasn't it?
Yes, that part was, yes. But she was writing a diary and like a more like letters to them in that room. And we would only see like the back of her head, so you couldn't tell that she was a zombie, but she was a zombie.
Yeah.
And good God, okay.
That was harsh. I was a little hardened to it at this point because when I watched the first 6 episodes, it like really messed with me. But when I came back the second day, which was actually today, I sort of like knew what I was getting into and braced myself for it. And so I was able to handle it a lot more. I had a really, really difficult time with the first 6 episodes. The second 6, I knew what I was going for and was able to like tough through it. With one exception, again, the end of it made me cry, which is something that's only happened like twice before as far as anime goes.
Yeah. I
think it was what, Assassination Classroom and Wakfu, I think, that made me cry.
Yeah. I knew Assassination Classroom. I wasn't sure your other one.
Yeah, Assassination Classroom got to me, and Wakfu, I know it's not technically an anime, but whatever, it got to me.
Yeah.
Because it was beautiful, and you should watch it.
And those first 3 episodes, I know I cried once per episode. Every one. And the reason is...
Yeah, because I was watching your Discord like tracker go up, and I was like, dude, are you okay?
Yeah. And each one of those... Each time, it was always because of Megane. Because in my initial watch, I didn't know that she wasn't there. But then
but going through the second time knowing about it.
I noticed it, and I don't know. It hit me really hard. And I don't know. It's such a good show. It's such a good show.
In the final few episodes, let's go and get the final few episodes out of the way because we have a couple other things to cover before we wrap up.
Yeah.
The final few episodes, Yuki begins to realize that everything's messed up. The first initial thing is when she counts the seats in the car, because they talk about who all came back from the trip in the mall, and she's like, wait, with Megane there were 5 of us, but it's a 4-person car.
And then she starts counting, and she's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then she never gets to 5, but she keeps doing different orders every time, getting to 4, trying to fit everybody into 4, and she can't.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, she doesn't completely snap out of it. She still talks to Megane, but after this point, instead of Megane being with her, she goes to the door where Megane died to talk to her.
Here's the thing, so we're just shown that for the first time. Before, she would go there, but we wouldn't know, because she would say, hey, I'm gonna go ask Megane this. And then she
no, but she'd also be present with her at times, because remember when she was showing
I know. Yeah. There's some times where she was present. This is the first time where she's not present at all, but this is the first time we're shown the door. She's gone to this door before. This is not her first time going to the door.
At this point forward, with one exception, she only talks to Megane by going to the door.
Yeah. And the only exception, I believe, is in the last episode.
Is in the next to final episode when she's chasing Sakura to get to the broadcast room, because she has to get to the broadcast room to distract the zombies so that Miki can get out and save Kurumi, because Kurumi got bitten by Megane and is actually transforming. Episode 11 is horrifying.
Episode 10 is the one that did it to me.
Or is 10 the one I'm thinking of? I thought it was 11.
10 is the one where she gets bit.
Yeah, 10 and 11 kind of bury over each other, but 11 is where it started to really get to me.
It's a two-parter. I would call it a two-parter.
It kind of is, because 9 is when we reveal that Sakura is a zombie.
Yes.
Because I mentioned 9 was the pool episode, and the only note I wrote, I did not write anything about the pool episode, because in my opinion, nothing important happened. It was mostly a filler episode.
It's not a filler episode, and I will fight you on that. It felt like a filler episode. It doesn't matter. It's not a filler episode because it shows that the characters are... This is the only chance they have to actually live a normal high school life. They don't get this all the time, and that's why that episode is so important. And this is the calm before the storm. They're in this perfect high school setting, and then all of a sudden, everything goes to hell.
Either way, the only note I wrote on episode 9 after the pool was at the very end of it is when they revealed that Sakura was a zombie. because we see her actually before Kurumi goes down to confront her after Chiromaru.
Yeah, we just see her in that hallway, and then the ED starts.
Yes. That was the only thing I wrote on that episode.
Yeah,
but then 10 and 11 are kind of together.
That's fine. That's fine. I just want to clear up that is an important episode. You might have only written one thing, but that is a very important episode to the show. That is not filler. If you took that episode out, and even if you left that last bit in, you would lose so much from the show.
Kind of. Well, because at this point, they were taking a break. Like, the characters were taking a break because they had just discovered a bunch of documents that were hidden and shown only to the teachers, saying that this was some sort of bioweapon. And there were documents regarding the lockdown and evacuation of students and faculty.
Right. And this was the last chance for them to be regular high school students.
Yeah, because they were like starting to specifically look for that, because they were like, hey, we have solar power and battery generators and a rooftop water collector. Why do we have all these survival items at a high school?
Yeah.
And so they went searching for clues. They found a key because Yuki bashed her face into a cabinet trying to chase Chiromaru, and a key fell out along with a bunch of other of Megune's belongings.
Yep.
And they end up finding these documents. Yeah. And it also shows a map of the school, which is where we find out that the second basement level is, which is where Sakura is, including a bunch of like medicinal supplies, including a potential cure.
Right.
Or not so much a cure, but a vaccine. So like it only works on like early infections.
Yeah. I just wanted to like, I don't like the way you put it, that episode was a filler episode, because it wasn't.
Filler probably isn't the best word, but that's
it's not the correct word at all.
It's personally what it felt like to me.
There's so many important things that happen there. Filler means that like nothing important happened, and you can literally skip it and not miss anything from the story.
I understand that episode's existence is technically important, but as far as what happened within the episode, it doesn't feel that important to me.
It shows that the characters are like, this is their last time. I'm going to keep repeating this, but this is their last time.
Okay.
And it is developing these characters to show that they still have this, and this is their last bit of innocence. And after this, everything is gone. So it's not. That's why.
I understand where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
I understand where you're coming from, and we're going to disagree on this. I understand where you're coming from, and it's a valid point. But to me, it felt a lot more like they were like, okay, we need one more cute girl episode before it goes full plot and horror.
I mean, at the core of this show, I'm not going to say the manga, but the show, it is a slice of life. So having these slice of life episodes is core to the show. And that's why, again, it's not filler.
Okay. Either way, 10 and 11, and particularly 11, is where they crank it up to 11. Because during this point, we're flashing between a bunch of different perspectives. So Yuki is like still coming to terms with whether things have gone to shit or not, because she's like trying to figure out whether she's seeing things or not. Kurumi is writhing in pain, shackled to a couch because she might turn at any moment. Risan is trying to convince herself to be strong enough to kill Kurumi because of a promise they made. And Miki is cornered by zombies in the basement, and Chiromaru is presumably dead. Everything is at its maximum tension in episode 11, and it was actively stressful to watch.
Yes.
It was actively stressful, and I could barely get through it.
Episode 10 made me cry 3 times, 3 separate times. Episode 11.
That's when... Because 10 is specifically when Yuki starts to become aware, and 10 is also when Kurumi gets bitten. It's at the end of 10.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of it culminates into 11. Anyway, you were saying, I completely cut you off.
Well, no, and then episode 11, I cried once more, specifically when I saw When I saw Kurumi on the couch, completely covered with a sheet, because I couldn't remember. It had been long enough. I couldn't remember because of the way that it was all done in that episode. That Risan, I didn't remember if she had gathered the strength to actually to do it, to kill.
Yeah,
Kurumi.
because they do a fake out on that. You see her like lift the dagger and they cut away.
And then you also see you see Kurumi laying on the couch, completely covered in a sheet, still not moving, and she had been like writhing around the entire time. And
they had reinforced this on 2 previous times. There were 2 instances where they go back to Kurumi saying, "Hey, if I turn, kill me."
And there's multiple times where Risan tries to gather the strength to do it.
Yeah, she wants to fulfill her promise.
Yeah, and then
because she's assuming they can't get the cure to her in time.
Right. Well, she doesn't even know if there really is a cure, for sure.
They know there's supposed to be one in the basement.
Yeah, but she doesn't know that it's
Miki had
there.
gone to get it and wasn't getting back.
Right. And then, but the first time, like that time when we see Kurumi completely covered in a sheet and still, is the first time that her head is covered in a sheet, which generally signifies somebody who's died.
Yeah, they fully cover her instead of her just being...
And I absolutely just lost it. I could not deal with that.
See, here's the thing. I'm not going to go into, like, reasoning, because that's a bit personal.
Right.
But, like, as far as it goes for me, there's, like, levels. It's really hard to get me to actually cry. A step before that is I get, like, this horrendously sore throat. And a step before that is similar to a stress headache.
Mm-hmm.
I had that stress headache level through the entire show.
Yeah.
That's why I had to take a break. That's why I was having a bad time. Is because this show actively hurt my head to watch because I was stressed out watching it.
I mean, I have also never cried this much watching a singular show.
Yeah, both of the other times that an anime has made me cry, it has only been one specific time in one specific episode.
I mean, I've had
this one was having some amount of effect on me through almost the whole thing.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I've had a couple shows that will, like, I'll cry, like, once or, like, twice, you know. But that's very rare.
Yeah, whereas this one put you at, I think your current total is 11?
It's 11, yeah. That's almost one per episode. And
in a 12-episode show.
Yeah, in a 12-episode show. Most of the ones that I've cried multiple times on, it's been, like, a longer show. Like, 26 episodes or One Piece.
Yeah,
so,
whereas
like,
both of the other ones that made me cry were both long shows, because this was the end of second of a season of Assassination Classroom. It was like 50-something episodes.
50 episodes.
At the end of a season of Wakfu, which I think was 40-something, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah. God,
This show is very impactful. Either way, let's go ahead and get the finale out of here, and then we want to talk about the intros, yes?
Yeah.
Because the intros kind of need their own section, because there's a lot to unpack there.
Mm-hmm.
So, episode 12. I actually only have 3 notes on episode 12. They're important, but I only have 3 notes. Okay. Episode 12, everyone's separated. Kurumi, we're not sure if she's dead. Or no, we find out that she hadn't been stabbed. But we see Risan is, like, not able to do it. And right. Miki is, like, completely cornered in the basement.
And she has the antidote, or, like, the vaccine, whatever it would be.
Yeah, she's retrieved it, but she hasn't been able to get out because literally, while she was downstairs, the power, like, finally went out. Because this is the other thing that stressed me out in episode 11, is we see everything go wrong. Some zombies happen, or lightning happens, or both. I forget which.
Lightning strikes the lightning rod, and the lightning rod falls into the generators.
So the generators break,
fire.
Which catch on fire. They lose power. The fire sets some zombies ablaze, and the zombies walk into the garden, so all their crops catch fire too.
Yeah.
So they are out of, like, everything survival except for water.
But that doesn't work because they need power for it.
Yes.
They only have a limited supply of that left.
And so they're screwed. I nearly dropped a worse word.
Yeah.
I've already done this episode. We have to mark it explicit anyway. I'm sorry.
whatever. I don't care. So everybody's split up, and Yuki has finally come to terms that, like, she's looking at reality for what reality is instead of her own personal reality.
To a degree, we still hear her talk to Megane. She still talks to Megane, and Megane is the one who leads her to the broadcast room where the speaker is.
Right.
Or where the PA system is, sorry.
And then when she gets in there after, like, a long struggle, after following...
There's actually one bit of interesting symbolism. So, Yuki's backpack has, like, little angel wings on, and so she's running around with little angel wings the whole time. Mm-hmm. When she's running the broadcast center, right after she's realized that, like, nothing is what she thought it is, the zombies grab and tear the wings off of her backpack.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's symbolism, but by golly, it felt like it to me.
Well, yeah, because she... they only tore one wing off.
Was it only one? My bad.
It was only one, but, like, still, I believe that symbolized, like, the fully, like, loss, because after that point, we didn't hear Megane again.
Jeez, I feel so... What is it? Uppity, talking about the symbolism hidden within a show. That is not me. Anyone who knows me knows I am not that kind of person. I'm not good at deep analysis, so this is weirding me out. Am I one of those, what's it called? Am I a drunk philosopher? Is that what's going on here?
Oh, God. And then when she gets into the broadcast room, she finds Toromaru and takes off her hat to get him to come over to her because he really loved her hat.
Because he intercepted. There was a zomber.
You can do it.
A zomber. About to get her, and Toromaru, like, jumps him. Even though Toromaru's also a zombie, he jumps the zombie to stop it from getting Yuki.
Which again goes back to the zombies. Like,
some semblance of sentience.
Have something going on, like memories or something, because Toromaru loved Yuki.
Oh, wholeheartedly, absolutely.
Like, they were best pals. And then she convinces him to come over and captures him in her hat and sits there and hugs him.
Mm-hmm. And he has, like, a massive wound on his back. Because, like, he's a small dog, too. Mm-hmm. He's small. So, like, a bite to his back is pretty sizable.
Yeah, he was about probably the size of, like, a chihuahua, I would say.
Something like that. If he is a sheep, he's on the small end.
Very small, yeah. And so then she just kind of sits like that for a little bit, and I guess is able to calm him down somehow.
Enough to leave him be while she's talking.
Yeah. And she gives this whole speech and says, "Everyone, it's time to go home." That's how she starts it. Oh,
this
my
is
God.
This is one of my 3 notes. This is one of my 3 notes because the beginning, like, half of her dialogue is exactly the same set of lines she says in episode 1. She does a tour of the show, talking about a tour of the school, talking about all the different rooms that the show has, and when she gets on the speaker, she's like, okay, school has let out for the day. I know you all love it here. We have this room that does this. We have this room that does this. And repeats the dialogue from the beginning of the show. And does, like, a full, like, 5-minute dialogue about, like, what she's... You good there, bud?
Uh-huh. Yeah, this part messed me up the most. And
this was touching, but this isn't what got me. This is touching, but it's not what got me. Just
thinking about this bit is, oh my God.
But she gives this big monologue about, like, everyone's relationship with the school. And the zombies, they listen, and they go home. And they leave so that everyone can be safe for the time being.
Yeah.
We get a little bit of a cutaway. Everyone's reunited. Miki has presumably brought the cure. They administer it to both Kurumi, who hasn't turned yet.
Right.
And to
Toromaru.
I nearly said Konosuba. Toromaru gives it to both of them. Kurumi recovers, and it is the most heartwarming thing ever because everyone is so, like, so relieved to see Kurumi alive. They give it to Terumaru, and he starts to recover. And, like, they give him food, they give him water, and they have, like, this heartfelt moment where he even bonds with Miki because he's not been talking to... He's been, like, running away from Miki this whole time. Except with one exception. And they kind of acknowledge that, like, literally all of us are alive because of Terumaru. Like, Terumaru is the reason they found Miki at the mall. Terumaru is the reason Yuki was able to get to the broadcast room, which is how they saved Kurumi. Everyone's alive because of Terumaru, and they have, like, this moment. And he starts to recover, but then he doesn't. And he passes.
He looks Mikun in the eyes, and then...
And, like, gives this dopey-ass dog smile that he's had the whole time.
Yeah, and then he dies.
This...
In her arms, and...
So, right after the wave of all of the characters reuniting with Kurumi after she pulls through, immediately followed by losing Terumaru, it was while they're making the burial for Terumaru right next to Megane's stone, that's when the show finally got to me. That's where I finally lost it.
Yeah, I mean, I cried through this entire thing. From the moment...
You put what, like 3.5 onto your count in the last episode alone?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Whereas the one and only time that it finally got enough that I couldn't take it was during the funeral sequence of episode 12.
I mean, all the way from the point where Mikun's eyes, like, you see the realization in her eyes of that, and you know that Terumaru's dead. From then on, like, until the end of the funeral is like, I was, oh god.
Yeah, so like for me, I was already like pushed pretty close to the edge during the like sequence when Kurumi wakes back up. I was already pretty close because of that, which meant I was already to the point where Terumaru's sequence pushed me over.
Yeah,
and that's almost how the show ends. They lose Terumaru, and then they end up realizing that they have to move on. They find a map that Megane had marked. There's a couple other theoretically survivor locations. One's a workforce location and one's a college, which mirrors a discussion they'd had a few episodes about prior about whether they were going to go to work or college.
Yeah.
And it ends with them driving away from the school.
Right, but before that, they have a graduation ceremony.
They have a graduation ceremony, and this is where the Poggers fish arrived.
Yeah, I mean, I cried during this too. I don't know what it is about graduations but like, I mean, it's not even like that. This is, I can literally only think of one other one that made me cry, which was Angel Beats when they graduated, and I cry every time. I've seen that show probably over 5 times.
Like if you cry every time.
And I cry every single time, and this one was no exception. Oh god.
Yeah, because it's just the four of them. They do the underclassmen speech, they give it to Miki. They do the upperclassmen speech, they give it to Yuki, because she's the only one officially graduating, but they give graduations to like all four of them.
Everybody else is in the same grade. And
yeah, because the other three are all second years.
Yeah. Miki's a third year, so she would be graduating that year.
Yeah, but since they're all leaving, they give the graduation to everybody, and they sign the graduation sheet. Like, all four of them sign it as, like, to Sakura Sensei.
Mm-hmm.
Which was actually beautiful.
Yeah. I watched that bit through tears as well.
Did you watch any of this show not through tears? I'm very concerned for your well-being right now.
Episode 9.
When they're all swimming. I am the water balloon sorceress.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. But, oh, God, this show, it's so good.
Yeah,
I love
and that's how it ends. They move on. And there hasn't been more since. It's been 5 years.
Most likely, is from what I've heard, the manga takes the plot points. It's a different, like, the anime rearranges the times the events happen.
So, as usual, I don't have any knowledge of the manga. This feels pretty self-contained. Like, it's theoretically open to more, but I think they did a really good job wrapping it up, and I don't think there needs to be more.
After midway through, I was talking to one of my friends, and I was like, yeah, no, the second season might be kind of cool, if they can, did the rest and stuff. But I know it would be difficult because I knew kind of about the manga. I hadn't read it, but upon watching that last episode, I don't want any more.
Yeah, no, I think this is fine where it's at.
Because I'm afraid what will happen, might get dehydrated, from crying too much, and don't really need that. So, I love this show though.
There's one more bit we should talk about, and then we'll give it like our final thoughts and tap out for this show. All right?
Okay. Yeah.
So, I would like to take a moment to talk about the intro OP animations specifically. This is the reason I knew about the twist going ahead of time, is because, again, my old roommate, we were talking about, I don't know if I said this on stream or not already, or on recording already, but the reason I found out about this is we were watching some videos where they, like, dissected the JoJo's intros, the What's in the OP series. Mm-hmm. And as a follow-up, my roommate was like, hey, there's other shows that do this too, though, and he pulled up a video of the School Live, whatever, opening, but it was all 12 openings played simultaneously in a grid. And progressively throughout the show, each OP has more elements changed to be darker than the one before it.
Yep.
So the first episode is pure, happy, slice of life intro. By the second episode, the windows are busted out, there's zombies in the front lawn. By like 7 or 8, we've got... I want to talk about this a bit separately, actually. They changed some shots in the end. And then by the very end of it, there's even like other minor details, like when the flashy colors wave across the screen for a transition. By the end of the show, those are zombie arms.
Yeah. And there's also the time of day changes.
Yes, it gets later in the day. Later and dimmer and more towards sunset as the episodes move on. Yeah. But one bit that really stood out to me, and part of why I was able to see some things coming, is from the intro. Because about halfway through, the music's great, it's adorable.
I love the...
But about halfway through, there's this one sequence of like 4 or 5 shots of different characters. I think it's 4 shots. The first shot is of the teacher staff office with a flower pot. The second shot is of a girl that at the time we didn't know in a shopping mall. The third shot is Toromaru. And the fourth shot is Megune. There's those 4 shots in a sequence.
Yeah.
Would you like to take over here, or should I keep going?
Just keep going. I think you got a good thread going.
Okay. The first of those shots to change is the teacher's classroom. Once we find out that things are different, and I think it's after like episode 3 or whatever when they establish exactly like when things first started, because there's this big sequence in the teacher's office where Sakura is. After that episode, that shot turns a sepia gray, or a sepia brown and gray, and it's the destroyed teacher's office with a cracked flower pot that we see later in other episodes.
Yeah.
Once we get the sequence with Miki in the mall, the shot, it turns out the girl is Kei, Miki's friend, where she like turns towards the camera. After the mall sequence, it shows her walking away from the camera in the same sepia dark tones. After we find out Sakura is dead, her shot gets replaced with a gravestone. After we find out she's a zombie, that same shot changes again to her as a zombie in the hallway. And in episode 9, when Toromaru runs away, that shot gets replaced with an empty leash sitting on the ground.
Yeah.
Because of the 3 previous shots changing, as soon as I saw the Sakura one change, I hadn't picked up on the Teacher's Lounge one, I had barely picked up on the K one. But when Sakura's changed, and Toromaru was the only one that was still normal, I was like, oh fuck, Toromaru's gonna die, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think kind of going along.
I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine, especially for this, because But I think the one, like with Toromaru, even I didn't like actually like pick up on that, like he was gonna die or anything. What I thought was gonna happen is he was gonna become a zombie, and then I thought they were gonna be able to save him. Originally.
Okay. I suppose what I should say is because that shot was in that sequence, I knew something was going to go wrong. I didn't know exactly what. I assumed it was going to be his death, because for Kei it was his death, and at the time being, it was just Sakura's death.
The time of Kei, we didn't know. She just disappeared. We only see her at the very end of the show, after she disappears.
Well, no, we see Kei like in the side episode when they're in the mall. Because we have a whole episode dedicated to just Miki and Kei.
Well, I mean, yes, yeah, but like after she leaves, the only other time we see her is in the last episode.
Yes.
So like we don't know what happens to her until then, for sure.
Yeah, we don't know what actually happens to Kei.
But we find out in the last episode that she became a zombie, and she's
we did?
Yeah, when they're driving away, there's a zombie.
Oh, that's who that was.
Yeah, that was Kei, because because it cuts.
Okay. Oh, I didn't realize that was Kei. That's heavy.
It goes from, because Mikun's looking at her, and sees her, and she starts to like tear up, and then it cuts to what she wrote on the chalkboard, and it said, I'm pretty sure it said,
she writes a note to Kei saying that she lived and it was worth it.
Yeah, Kei, I'm glad I lived. And
ooh, that's harsh, and I wish I hadn't realized that.
Yeah, it's
But yeah, where was I going with that? Either way, we saw like Kei disappears and her sequence changes. Sakura dies and her sequence changes. The staff room, I don't know, everything goes bad and that changes. And I'm like, okay, something is going to go wrong with Toromaru because he has a shot in this sequence.
Yeah.
Like, other bits in the intro change to some degree, but those bits like completely swap out for the same dark sepia tone that we get for all of the flashback sequences, or anytime a zombie is present.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think I do think though that the OP does it's one of the most interesting OPs, I think, because each episode,
especially because it changes.
Exactly, because it changes.
And so, like, because once you pick up on that, you start looking to see what's different from the episode before.
Mm-hmm. And I think so I think that if you didn't know, or you didn't watch all 12 of those together originally,
it would have taken me 4 or 5 episodes to catch on, at least.
I don't even know if you would have noticed the Toromaru thing until your second watch.
I wouldn't have noticed the Toromaru thing, potentially. I would have noticed it start to change, because the first change in episode 2 is like very obvious. The zombies in the courtyard.
Yes, of course.
But the sequence of things changing, except for Toromaru's, because his isn't until like episode 9. There's like a 50-50 on whether I would have caught up with that, because it is comparatively obvious. Having every shot in a single, because those are very differently sequenced, it's accentuated by the music, because that's when all the characters, like, I don't know if there's a correct word, but like they harmonize or whatever. In turn, like the barbershop quartet sort of thing.
Yeah, harmonize. That's
and and the 4 shots sync up with that. I think that's obvious enough that I would have noticed that, hey, there's a trend here. Yeah. I might have caught on to that one.
Okay, that's fair. But I still think it would have been, how do I put this? Like, I think that the fact that you knew going into it that they were all different, that like lets you.
So I knew to keep an eye out.
Right, like because when I was originally watching it, and given I was watching it week by week, so I had a week in between each one. Like, obviously, I knew that there was a difference between the first and second one, but like all the rest of the changes are fairly minor.
Yeah, the only major change happens episode 1, and that's...
Or episode 2.
Or episode 2, yeah, sorry. The only major change happens between 1 and 2 when the main courtyard is filled with zombies.
Yeah.
There's another, like, decently large change, is, like, there's this little animatic under the title of all the characters running along. That disappears after, like, 8 or 9 once things start to really kick into gear.
Yeah, that's true. And also, I would say that also when it becomes, like, dusk, or, like, late afternoon, that's a pretty heavy change because the rest of it was, up until that point, was like daytime or morning. It was
I'd
very
argue
bright.
against that, at least in my notice, because even knowing that it changed to dusk, I still didn't notice it.
Okay, so see, that was one of the things that I did notice originally. I remember that specifically.
Had I not known the episode 1 twist, though, there were definitely things I would not have cut onto. I would not have noticed the graveyard in the gravestone in the garden. I would not have picked up on that. Absolutely not. And I suppose it doesn't turn into that big of a deal because I didn't realize its significance until it was too late anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I made a specific note of it and was like, wait, why is there a gravestone up here? And then I made the note the next episode of, wait, I'm not sure Megane's alive. And then I completely brushed it off because they faked me out on it very effectively.
They did it very well. And from what I remember, they did not mess up once.
Yeah, no, because the only times they talk to Megane is when Yuki calls them out on it, and then they stop to, like, thank her, or something like that. They never directly initiate conversation with Megane.
No. And the only time they respond to Megane is after Yuki has said something in response to Megane, and they respond to that.
Yes.
It's the only way they're in the conversation. So,
yeah. It was just blurry enough that I wasn't certain.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I guess it's time for
final thoughts.
I think it's time for final thoughts. Would you like to go first?
I have a bit of a controversial opinion here. I can wholeheartedly admit that the show is remarkably well done. It accomplishes what it set out to do very, very well.
I don't like where you're going.
Was miserable watching this show. I had a very difficult time watching it. I frankly never intend to watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
I might come back to this decision in time, but for the time being, I think I am intentionally not going to give this show a rating. I don't think I can give a fair one. I can acknowledge how well done it was. I legitimately can't figure out if I think it was good or not. I don't know how I feel. It messed me up that bad that I'm not sure how to reason this.
Okay.
I'll revisit my rating later and maybe give it an actual number, but for the time being, I don't think I can in good conscience assign one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that...
But I do not intend to watch this show again at all. I don't think I'm ever going to revisit this.
Okay. I'm willing to respect that. See, if it's not obvious, I absolutely love this show. I think it does. On episode 3, when I got done with it, I made a tweet and I said, I believe it was like along the lines of like, is Gakko Garashi the perfect show? Possibly. And
I saw that while I was lying in bed that night, and I was still only halfway through the show, and I was still like very like frustrated with it at that point, and I nearly picked a fight with it.
And I've been thinking this kind of all day, pretty much all day. I think this show, upon rewatching, might have broken into my top 5 of all time. And it started at a 9, and it's going to end at a 10 for sure. I don't know. This is a very like special show, I think. It's like a once. I don't think a show like this is ever going to come again for me. This has kind of affected me to the same way that like Devilman has, which is a lot to put it mildly. I absolutely adore this show. I will definitely be rewatching it at some point. Yeah, I mean, when you cry 11 times in a show, I think that's it's pretty high praise, you know.
That's fair. That's very fair. I think for me, it's just because, again, I know it was good, and I can admit it was good, but because of how bad an experience I had watching it, I can't properly judge how good it actually was.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I understand.
I need time to process before I can properly rate it.
Right. Like, this show, I feel it's like a very personal, like, show. Whenever I hear, I mean, I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, but who I have heard talk about it, it's a very, like, personal experience, and the people I've heard really just absolutely love this show. And, like, I mean, if you want, like, to see somebody who adores this show and, like, talks about it, just go watch Urban the Myth. It's great. Like, honestly, really good.
You pointed out his review to me when we looked at the AniList page.
Yeah, his review on AniList is the highest rated review. He gave it a 10 out of 10, obviously, and most of the other people that I follow, on their comment, they just put "Ask Urban" or "Urban knows," something like that. Because this is his show. This is what he's known for. He's the Gakko Garashi stan, if you will. But yeah, this show is, God, I mean, I don't know if I can do it justice by saying anything else. Watch it, please. I love it.
That's fair.
Just gonna kind of ramble if I continue, so I'll leave it at that.
Either way, that seems to be our ratings: a 10 out of 10 for Seaweed and a
question mark
something out of 10 for me. I legitimately can't tell you at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But that's that for Gakko Garashi. Next week is the My Choice episode, and after the 12 episodes of suffering we just went through, I want something goofy and adorable. And if you haven't guessed, both of us, obviously including myself, have a little bit of a weak spot for your good old-fashioned harem anime. And so we're getting to one that has been recommended to me a lot and that I've been meaning to get to for a long time. For episode 6 of A Shot of Weeb, next week on Saturday, we'll be talking about Date Alive.
Yep, season 1.
Season 1. I did not know there were more seasons. I just found that out literally now.
Yeah, there's 3 seasons and a movie.
We're going to be talking about season 1 because we're never going to do more than 1 season per episode.
Yeah. No.
So season 1 of Date Alive for next week.
So expect a more upbeat episode. I know the second half of this episode kind of man.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. I was getting some feelings.
Yeah, I know. There's a reason I kept talking.
yeah. It was kind of a second half was very very much a Wob centric thing, which is fine.
I'm sorry to put that on you guys.
No. It was fun. So yeah, that one will be a much more lighthearted episode. It's a show I already like, and I hope I continue to like it after we rewatch it.
I didn't know it was 3 seasons, so I'm going to be conflicted with whether or not I should watch the other 2 right after to finish the story, or if I should save them for later episodes.
I don't know. Watched season 3 yet.
Well, no, I mean, it'll be a long time before we get to 2 or 3, but the question is whether or not I can watch the first season without watching the second 2 on my own.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying I haven't watched season 3 yet. I really liked this show. So, I don't know.
Okay, that's fair.
We'll see. Yeah, I might have to watch.
We'll see how it goes. There's a chance that when we eventually get to season 2 and 3 of Date Alive that we'll both have already watched it, because I might watch the other 2 seasons after I finish the first one.
And the movie comes after season 2.
Movies. No.
Okay. Look,
I was trying to make a joke.
This has been an episode of A Shot of Weeb. Thank you for listening. If you're listening to this on YouTube, you can go find us on any platform that you listen to your podcasts on, because we're on, I think, basically all the major ones now. We finally got on iTunes.
Mm-hmm. We put it on Anchor, and Anchor distributes it to all kinds of others. So we're all over the place. Yep. I know for a fact we're on Spotify, Apple Play, Google Play.
Yeah, all the major ones.
All over the place. And YouTube, because we're stubborn.
I say, and if you're listening to this, go check out the YouTube uploads as well, because this episode we've got a couple things that are going to pop up, and soon we're going to have a...
No! Don't spoil the... They mustn't know that I bought a just for this.
Alright, don't worry, I'll bleep that out. It'll be a mystery. So this should be a lot of fun. Go check those out. So join us next Saturday for episode 6, Data Live.
Next Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern, hopefully, as all the other episodes have been.
Yeah, all of them.
All of them, quote unquote.
Especially episode 3. I was definitely out at 5 p.m. on Saturday. Definitely not out on Sunday at noon or whatever.
We'll see y'all next week. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to continuing this.
Bye-bye.
Bye.